Happy Tuesday, my friends, and welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World. And on today's episode of the Prime, we're going to be breaking down week number 1 in the UFL. Thank you very much for joining us as we try to be the number 1 spot for all things UFL. As we break you down every single game, make predictions for every single game. That's what we're here to do here at Prime Sports World. Also, if you could please please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. As we are more interested in the podcast, we'll continue putting out UFL content. So thank you very much for supporting us. I very much appreciate it. My name is David On Point Huffman, and let's get into it. And by the way, if you watched my episode last week, you will know my predictions last week were not good. In fact, I got them all wrong. Every single pick that I made towards games this week was wrong. So yeah, that's tough. But we bounce back. Hopefully we'll have a better week this week. Let's swing right into it. Let's talk about the kickoff game. We got the USFL champion going up against the XFL champion, and the Birmingham Stallions beat the Arlington Renegades 27-14. There is no metric where they were not a better football team in this game. And another crazy thing, so the Birmingham Stallions kind of found a way to utilize the 2 quarterback system. So they used Adrian Martinez as kind of their running quarterback, who had 3 carries for 52 yards. But Matt Corral actually got the start and was doing a lot of the passing, 12 for 21 for 201 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Adrian Martinez also threw an interception in this game. They also had a rushing touchdown from Pearson, and they also had a touchdown from Maribel there for the Birmingham Stallions. On the other side, Luis Perez, 19-28, 214 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Brown was their leading rusher, 8 carries for 30 yards, but they didn't run the ball particularly well in this game, only averaging 3.3 yards per carry, while giving up 5.1 yards per carry, as the Birmingham Stallions ran for 183 yards in this game. And Stallions outgained Arlington almost 2-1, 409 to 262. That's just just kind of opening night kicks. Luis Perez, is like the man of spring football when it comes. He's basically the guy who's been in every single league. He played in every single situation. Just didn't play particularly well in this game. But it's a tough break for Arlington. But Birmingham getting off to a really nice start here as they win this game 27-14, and they were never really challenged here. Although Arlington was up or tied at halftime. They were up 14-11 at one point, and then Birmingham scored the final 8 points of this game and basically just cruised to victory. So shout out to Birmingham as they get the very first victory in the UFL. Sorry. It's going to take me a hot minute to get used to those acronyms there as we continue to switch over from the XFL and the USFL to the UFL. To the next game, we got probably the best game of the entire weekend, included a walk-off field goal at Ford Field for the Michigan Panthers as they beat the heavily favored St. Louis Battlehawks 18-16. AJ McCarron had probably the best passing day of the week, but it comes in a losing effort as he had 24 of 37, 216 yards and 2 touchdowns. EJ Perry on the other side kind of just did enough to win the game. Threw 2 interceptions, 12 of 24, 176 yards. And yes, those 2 interceptions that I mentioned here. Hills was their leading rusher, 11 for 85. EJ Perry had 2 rushing touchdowns, and they ran for 5.1 yards per clip as a team. Wayne Gallman, former New York Giant, led the St. Louis Battlehawks in rushing with 13 carries for 40 yards. But a fun fact about the kicker who actually won this game for the Michigan Panthers. Jake Bates was the kicker on this game. He kicked a 64-yard field goal to beat the St. Louis Battlehawks, who got the lead actually with like 47 seconds left in the game. And then obviously these Michigan Panthers got into field goal range. They kicked the game-winning field goal, 64 yards. Jake Bates. So Jake Bates in college actually was just a kickoff specialist, and he hadn't kicked the field goal since he was in high school. So it's been about 5 years since Jake Bates kicked the field goal in a meaningful football game since high school. And he goes on to win the game-winning kick, 64 yards, just a beast of a kick. That kick probably would have been good from like 70 yards. Let's be real. It was a absolute slam dunk of a kick. Atman, leading receiver for the St. Louis Battlehawks, he had 6 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown. 2 for 46 on the other side with Ross. If Michigan wants to continue to win games, they're probably going to have to shore up this passing attack. 12 of 24 from your quarterback, along with 2 interceptions. Probably not going to get a ton in weeks coming up here in the UFL. So we'll see what happens moving forward as they continue to try to build on this victory and shoot. Big time shout out to Michigan Panthers, a big time underdog, played real tough defense and ended up winning the game on a walk-off field goal, basically a walk-off field goal at the Horn. To the next game, we're going to go to Sunday afternoon football as we had games on Saturday and Sunday this weekend. Moving on from the DC Defenders to the San Antonio Brahmas. Does anybody know what a Brahma is? I don't think even the San Antonio Brahmas, the people who play on the team, even know what a San Antonio Brahmas is. But the DC Defenders, this was not a good day at the office for Jordan Tiamo. He was the MVP of the league last year, at least at the XFL. Really struggled in this game. But as San Antonio win this game at home, 27-12, as the beer snake was let down there by the DC Defenders. But they just really could not really get anything going on offense here. Had only 12 points in the game. 2 field goals and then a touchdown. Jordan Tiamo, 12, and then I didn't even score touchdowns. I may have kicked 4 field goals in this game. Yeah, that's exactly what happened, actually. And then, they had Jordan Tiamo, 12 of 25 of 45, 235 yards and a pick. Harris was the leading rusher for the DC Defenders, 8 of 21. As they really struggled on the ground, only averaging 3.4 yards per attempt there on the ground. On the other side, Chase Gabers had a really good game, including he had a rushing touchdown. He threw 2 more touchdowns, 19 and 25, 158 yards, really efficient from him. Also, Brad Wing, former NFL punter for the Giants, I think, right? Brad Wing, he threw a touchdown to a big man, a center at Mollett. And if you haven't seen the interview that they did after the touchdown, where he said, he gave all fat guys hope. That's just a fun little XFL wrinkle. Brad Wing should be throwing more touchdowns. He really was slinging it. He slung it that one time, one catch for 40 yards, and that touchdown that I mentioned for the Brahmas as they go on to win 27-12. And really just a poor day at the office for the DC Defenders, who I still think is the best team in the UFL. It just didn't translate to good football this week. They also were 0-3 in red zone opportunities. I imagine that'll get cleaned up as this team moves on. And losing Abram Smith before the season has to be kind of affecting this team. So we'll see how they end up shaking out there in DC. But good win for the San Antonio Brahmas as they're kudos to them. To the final matchup here, we got the Memphis Showboats and the Houston Roughnecks as Memphis wins this game 18-12. The Roughnecks were just really struggled to really get anything going on offense. They did have an opportunity to kind of get back in this game. They had on like a super, I think it was on a super challenge, I do believe, no, it wasn't a super challenge. So they got to stop in the fourth quarter. And they forced Memphis Showboats to kick a field goal. The field goal hit the upright. Then they were offsides. So they got a new set of downs for the Memphis Showboats. Their defense was so stout in that particular possession. They actually lost yardage after that missed field goal. And so the Memphis Showboats were forced to punt the ball away. But unfortunately, their returner muffed the punt and turned it over. Yeah, so Henny, yeah, so he had he muffed the punt and he turned it over, and that was the end of the game. Iced it away there. Memphis Showboats are going to win 18-12. Cookus was solid here in this game. 23 of 40 for 204 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. This team really, really struggled to run the football. Both these teams really did in this game. With the quarterbacks on both teams being the leading rusher for both squads. Cookus 4 for 16 yards on the ground. They only averaged as a team, the Memphis Showboats, 1.8 yards per attempt on there, and 19 carries for 34 yards. Luckily, they played really good defense. Gorentano struggled in this game. His passing rating was pretty high, but they just struggled to get anything really going on offense. 16-21, 157 yards. He was also the leading rusher, as I mentioned, 2 carries for 22 yards and that late touchdown that kind of made this game interesting. towards the very, very, very end, as they were unable to complete the conversion there. But yeah, this is just another game where the Memphis Showboats and the Roughnecks, they're going to have some kinks to work out on this offense, as both of these teams really struggled to really move the football in the first week. And that's kind of the takeaway I have from a lot of these teams, really, outside of the Brahmas and the Stallions, who were able to really get clicking on offense, especially that two-headed quarterback attack there for the Stallions. I also thought it was interesting the way the super challenges were handled in a couple of these games. I know in the DC Defenders game, they scored a touchdown, but the Brahmas head coach, I think Wade Phillips is the Brahmas head coach. He challenged that one of the DC Defenders players was offsides at the or false start at the snap. So he won that challenge. He got a touchdown taken off the board. DC was unable to punch that ball back into the end zone. They ended up having to settle for a field goal. On top of that, their starting right tackle got ejected in that same play as he spat on another player. So yeah, I think you got some kinks to work out there on offense. The Stallions, that two-headed quarterback attack really looks to be clicking on all cylinders. I'll be interested to see how they continue to implement as the season goes on. But yeah, week one of the UFL, pretty entertaining football. The ratings were pretty solid. The attendance in the stadiums, even though they did look extremely empty, they averaged about 14,000 people per game. Which is actually just about who was at the same amount of people at the Athletics game earlier this week. So that's my week one recap. Swinging into week number 2, as we got the Brahmas and the Showboats, both of these teams coming off victories in week number 1. I will take the San Antonio Brahmas. I just really liked what I saw of them, especially on defense, as they created a couple turnovers there, forcing Gordon Triamo, who was the best player. The DC Defenders didn't lose a game last year until the very way, and now they already have one loss. So I'll take the San Antonio Brahmas in that match. And then two of the more disappointing teams in week number 1, we got the Renegades and the Battlehawks going head to head. This game is in St. Louis, in that Metrodome, or whatever they call that stadium in St. Louis where the Rams used to play. I expect there to be 30,000+ people in that stadium cheering on the Battlehawks. I think they win that game fairly easily. I think AJ McCarron, he played really well in that game. Just didn't came up short on the scoreboard. To the Stallions, who go to the Panthers. The Panthers obviously won that and with the walk-off field goal. But I think the Birmingham Stallions might be the best team in the UFL. That two-headed quarterback attack is really going to be interesting for defensive play callers to kind of scheme against. I'll take the Stallions in that matchup. And then the final matchup, we're going to swing back into what were former rivals actually in the XFL. They got the Houston Roughnecks in the USFL conference because they used to be the Houston Gamblers, and they kind of switched names going into DC and kind of taking on the Beer Snake, going up against the Jordan Tiamo and the DC Defenders. I think the DC Defenders get off the schneid. I think they bounce back in a big way. I'll take the DC Defenders to win that game. But yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments section. Who do you think is going to be taking home week 1? Importantly, let me know what you thought about week 1 of the XFL of the UFL. Let me know what you thought, what you think the UFL week 2, how the games are going to shake out there. As I do appreciate you guys continuing to watch us here at Prime Sports World. We're going to swing back into the NFL content tomorrow, as we got a mock draft for you. This is mock draft 2.0 from Prime Sports World. Actually, Izzy probably has his mock draft 3.0 on the website right now. So if you go check out that content, so please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. I'm David Huffman. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. We'll be back here tomorrow. You guys all be safe, and I will see you later. Peace out.